Welcome to Lighting the Educational Flame, created and produced by educator and author Mark Hoberman, owner and director of Grade Success Tutoring. Mark will be joined by Susan Brender, CEO and host of The Susan Brender Show. The purpose of this program is to offer our listeners a variety of stories dealing with many interesting topics surrounding education. It is our hope that students and parents alike will benefit from the wide range of topics, including study skills, test prep, anti-bullying, sports, music, and more. We hope you enjoy our show, Lighting the Educational Flame.
Hello and welcome to the talk show, Lighting the Educational Flame, brought to you by Grade Success Education. I am Mark Hoberman, and as always, my co-host is Susan Brender. Susan, how are you today?
I'm doing fine, and as I always say to you, Mark, it's just such a pleasure being on the show with you. It really is.
Pleasure is mine. What are we going to talk about today before we bring our guest on?
Well, I'll tell you something. The guest that we have today is a really amazing person because he's developed a perfume, which is an amazing perfume, and people ought to really consider buying it because he's an entrepreneur who's started something special, and it's turned out to be a successful perfume, and it's fabulous. So, Mark, I got to say to you, he sent one to you, and what did you think about it?
I thought the cologne was outstanding. I'm going to ask him questions about the science behind it because I don't think people realize they just go and they buy it, and it's that simple. But let's bring him on now because he's just a very special guy. He has a very big connection to Disney, as we're about to find out. So let's bring him on now. And our guest today is fragrance creator and fragrance mogul, in my opinion, Geir Ness. Geir, welcome to Lighting the Educational Flame.
Thank you so much. Nice to be with you.
So nice to have you here. Before I get started and talk about your amazing progress and life in the fragrance industry, it's time for a little commercial because I have here an amazing cologne that Geir was nice enough to send me, and it's really outstanding. So I just have to ask you, what made you decide to follow your passion and become involved in the fragrance industry? That has to be such an interesting journey.
It is, yeah. It's interesting because I always liked scents. When I was very little, my mom and dad will always take me up to the mountains of Norway. And I remember the scent up there was such a beautiful, fresh, clean scent. And I could actually separate flowers. When my mom will ask me about a flower and tell me about, I will remember next time, and I will say, this is this, that. And I always love scents. I think scent is such a powerful thing that we have. And I always loved it. So what happened was I was doing promotion for other fragrance lines in Europe. And people will ask me where I was from. And when I said Norway, they will say to me, well, does Norway have their own fragrance? And I find out that we never had. We had scents from Italy, from France, all over the world, but never a Norwegian fragrance. So one day I said to myself, I'm going to do some research and see what I can do myself. And that's how I started up with the idea of creating a fragrance.
Yeah, Geir, let me ask you something. You're an entrepreneur. And it's not easy to be an entrepreneur, especially now. I mean, now it's really difficult. As you know, things are closed. This pandemic has caused all kinds of issues. But you started a perfume company. Yeah. And our audience needs to understand what it's like to be an entrepreneur and how you can have success. Because it's very difficult. Again, as I said it, and success is the number one thing that you want to accomplish, right?
Right. I think the number one thing is that you have to have a passion for what you want to do, and you have to believe in what you want to do and with yourself. And the most important thing for me when I started, I had no money. I started with scratch, borrowed money from a friend of mine, maxed up my credit card. But at the same time, Susan, I was thinking what was important to me was to create something that I wanted and not listen to all the negativity out there. Surround yourself with positive energy and with people that actually want good for you. Not saying things to friends and say, oh, well, that's so hard and this and that. No, create yourself out and look forward, have a goal, have a vision, and go with that goal. And even if you will go up and down sometimes, just believe that this is going to happen if you really believe in yourself, in what you're going to do, and in the products. So I looked at myself, Susan. I saw myself on the red carpet with stars, you know, and all that stuff. Even when I have no money, and I sold my own clothes in garage sale to make rent, but at still doing all that, I still believed that this will go the right way. And trust me, there was many times that I thought, wow, but you know, snap out of it and go. And that's what it takes. It takes believing in yourself and surround yourself with good energy and people that want you good.
You know, Mark, I'm curious about something. In our schools, nobody teaches about botany, about plants, about all kinds of, you name it, that's, you know, flowers. They don't teach us. And in Japan, the first thing that people learn is about botany, about all these different things we're talking about. Sure. Now, why do you think that our schools don't teach that? Because it's part of nature, and nature is fabulous.
So there's no easy answer for that. I have my own philosophy, but you know, I believe, and you know, Susan, we've talked about this many times, that education is not just academic. It's got to be character education also. So I would argue that 45 minutes of a class Zooming with Geir could be worth 2 months in a business class, because the real applicable things, because when Susan talks about, you know, during the pandemic and things like that, he gave great advice, because when Geir talks about stay with positive people, there's so much negativity out there and bullying and things of that nature. But I have to tell you, I'm certain that that mindset, he wasn't born with that. And he mentioned his parents and his mother taking him elsewhere and families being involved. So that leads me into, you know, we teach to the test too many times. So we've got to get back to a curriculum that's more holistic. And I have to ask Geir, when he talks about his family and being brought up in Norway, and I've seen this phrase on your website, what is the real essence of Norway? Well,
many different things, but I think, to me at least, it's the nature, it's the freshness, the cleanness. You know, we are born in Norway to basically live outdoors. You know, if you're looking at the Olympic skiing, Norway usually become number one. You know, we're a small country with 5 million people, but we're so into the nature. We love to go out in the weekends, you know, hiking. In the wintertime, we go, you know, skiing, even 10 below zero, it doesn't stop us. We go out and doing it. And I think that's what the essence is when I think about Norway. It's the mountain, the fresh, the cleanness, the outdoorish, you know, to feel, you know, alive and be outdoor, and there's positive energy. And we see everything. We appreciate nature more than probably, I wouldn't say about any country else, but we are really into the nature. And that's what the essence of Norway is about. It's the nature to me. And I think for most Norwegians.
You know, Geir, one of the other things about your perfume has to do with the bottle. The bottle. When you designed that, how did you, you know, what did you think about? How did you design it? Because that is sort of the image of the perfume, and that sells the perfume in many ways. Think about some of the stars. You know, Elizabeth Taylor years ago, she had a perfume, and it was absolutely fabulous because it took away the idea that the only thing that you have is the essence. It's also the bottle. So what do you say to our audience about developing that?
Absolutely. That's such an important question. I think because what I've said about the nature, I wanted the packaging, the bottle to be clean and simple. So it reflects what's inside the bottle. And the bottle that I have kind of reflect the mountains, you know, that the cleanness, the lines of it is very simple and clean. And that's what I wanted in my fragrance. Because you see, as you said, with Elizabeth Taylor, a lot of celebrities or other fragrances, they have different packaging, and maybe some of the fragrances are more heavy or sweeter, so they do a different packaging. But for me, it was important, as you said, when you see the bottle, you feel, wow, it must be clean, it must be fresh. That's what you feel when you just see the bottle. And that's what I want also to be, you know, when people see it and also smell it, of course, it will be exactly that. So that's a good point. So, yeah, absolutely.
Susan brings up a great question because, you know, people think, oh, we go in, here's the fragrance, I'm going to buy it. There are a lot of steps between here's this fragrance, oh my God, this smells great. Now I have to get it out to the public. Now the marketing comes in. That's why education is so important, because the know-how of these things. So people, I always say, people know the glory, but they don't know the story. So what are the most challenging aspects of being in your business?
Well, for me, because I didn't have any money, I had to use myself. And I was lucky because my education is kind of acting as well. I was producing and directed, helping a cabaret show in Spain when I was a tour guide. So I learned how to really promote and be out there talking to the public. And when I started my fragrance, I realized how important it is, and I didn't have any choice to use myself. And also in school and everything, I also learned how to, to communicate with people, to listen. And listen is a very important thing. A lot of time when you talk to someone, they don't even listen to you. You can tell they're all over the place. Right. They don't look in your eyes. And to me, my mom always told me, look in people's eyes and, and focus when you talk to people. And I always remember that when I also started my business. For me, it was important when I'm going to promote and be out there to use myself. So that's exactly what I did when I created the fragrance. I'm going to tell you both a fun little story, if I can, how I started off.
Love it.
This was at Nordstrom's department stores.
Sure.
And I had been sampling my fragrance out. And remember now, Susan and Mark, this is a guy that has no name, nothing, right? So I talked to different buyers, different department stores. And Nordstrom's, which I had been doing some promotion for other fragrances, I knew a little bit. And to me, Nordstrom was the place to be. They have great customer service. They're looking for unique things, exactly what I was about. So I got to meet the buyer, and she smelled it, and she said, well, you said, I love the bottle, I love the fragrance, but remember, Geir, you have no name. This takes a lot. This is harder than show business to do anything, so I can't do anything with it. But finally, she agreed to take 100 bottles into one store to see how much I could sell. And if I didn't sell in 3 months, they had to take it all back. So I said, okay. So I had to be creative, and that comes into creativity. I go to a garage sale and I buy a suit for $5. And at the garage sale, there was a red carpet laying there. So I said, can I take that with me? Sure. So he gave it to me. And at that time, I went also to acting classes in acting school. So I had a friend of mine in school. His name was John. He was a photographer. And remember, this is 20 years ago, before cell phones, right? So he said to me, and I said, can you come down to Nordstrom on Saturday and take picture of me, pretend I'm a big star from Europe? And he said, Geir, I would love to, but I have no film in the camera. I said, nobody knows that. Just come down and flash away and pretend. So this is a true story. Brilliant. So I come down to Nordstrom. This is the day before Mother's Day. I put my red carpet there, and I'm staying there with my $5 suit, picture of myself behind me, the photographer flashing. And I got a couple of my friends coming in and to say, oh my God, here he is. I can't believe he's here, that kind of thing. And when Nordstrom opened the store up, they have this big promotion with other lines, and I was in the corner, right? And people started to line up and said, oh my God, who's this over there? The blonde guy with all the, photographer flashing. And people started to line up. In 1 hour, I have sold out all the bottles. And I got people in the waiting list. Wow. And that's how I started. It's a true story. That's how I started at Nordstrom.
Not only is that brilliant, I have to be honest here. I might edit that out because I'm definitely stealing that idea. And I'm not going to give you any credit. I think that is absolutely brilliant. I have to be honest with you. Susan knows this. I am a stalker when it comes to celebrities. If I saw that, I would have bought 2 bottles and I would have said to my wife, you're not going to believe, I don't know who this guy is, but you have to see all the people here. That is absolutely a brilliant story. So thank you so much for sharing that. Just brilliant.
Mark, I've got a question for Geir. Geir, years ago, magazines used to advertise. They'd have a little sample in the publication. Today, most things are digital. There's not a lot of magazines out there anymore. But do you advertise in magazines and also on television at all? Or is that something very important to you, or it's not worth doing it? You just go by your name right now because you've established a name?
Well, that's also a very good question. But as you know, social media today, it's so important with, pictures and the story. And that's why stories behind the product are so important, because like you said, you can smell it when you're talking, right? You have to smell it. And what is it? So when you have a story behind it, That's where it's more important today than ever before. And also magazines and stuff. People don't read a lot of magazines anymore. They're looking at, you know, Facebook, Instagram. So I'm pretty involved with that. And also trying to be part of discussions and things. I do a lot of, in the past, before the pandemic, I did a lot of shows. I was on stage talking to people. I did Mother's Day promotion because of the story about my women's perfume, you know, I named after my mom. So, so I did a lot of that. But right now, Susan, what I do the most of are more social media, more than anything else. And that seems to be really helping me. And also because also I work with Disney a lot too. So I do a lot of promotion and stuff with Disney as well.
Well, that was going to be my next question, actually. How did you get involved with Disney? Because you did the signature fragrance for Frozen.
Right.
So how did that come about? Because that's huge.
Yeah, well, what happened was, I don't know if you have been to Epcot in Orlando, to Disney World.
Yes, many times.
They have different countries, like the French Pavilion, the North.
Japan, yep.
Yeah, so I had first, my women's perfume, Lila, was the first one that came into the Norway Pavilion.
That's the one after your mother.
Yeah, that's what I created, named it after my mom. And then I had my men's fragrance, Geir, named after myself. I couldn't come up with a better name.
Fine.
So while I was doing so well with that, and I established a relationship with Disney. So when the movie came out, Frozen, I was talking with Disney, and they said, is there any way that you can come up with a fragrance that reflect more the nature of the movie? So I had many meetings with Disney. I come up with the scent and everything, and they love the scent and the idea of it. So we got it into Disney World, and it was just for where the movie was going on, you know, and we sold everything out. And now I'm doing another fragrance that I will launch in October. Disney will be 50 years old, Disney World, October 1st. So I'm going to be there to launching my new fragrance there in Disney World, October 1st. So that's how the relationship become. That was because of that. Yeah.
That's outstanding.
Have you any friends, Geir, who love your perfume so much that they say, you know what, we're going to help you market them? Okay. Do you have people around you who say, you know, this is a fabulous product and I want to really get people to pay attention to it? Friends, okay? Relatives, students, who's helping you?
I really haven't had much of that, to be honest with you. I actually had companies want to come in and helping me or buying my company for the past couple of years. When it comes to friends and families, they have been helping me a lot for helping me promoting it as much as they can on their social medias and talking about my products and stuff. Yes, they have done that for sure. And of course, my mom has been, you know, I named it after her. She had been with me to Nordstrom's, signing bottles with me when people lined up and for Mother's Day promotion and things like that. And, you know, and she is also my best friend and my mom. So we do a lot of fun stuff together, her and I. So she has been like really, and of course my brothers and yeah, my family too. So, but when it comes to like helping me to the next level of things, I usually do a lot of things myself. Like right now, I'm also working on a dog shampoo for dogs. So right now I'm working on the logo and how to get that up because I haven't done that before. But what happens, Susan, a lot of people ask me about, oh my God, my dog, you know, need to smell good. Do you have anything for dogs? I heard that for a couple of years now. So one day I said to myself last year, wow, maybe I should do something with that and create something for dogs. So that's another thing I'm doing right now, but I haven't really talked. I mean, you're the first one that will know this, but I'm working on that right now, and I'm going to launch in the fall with that too.
Wow.
That's a whole new thing for me.
That's amazing. That's hot off the press, but I have to ask because with dogs, it's different and you have to be careful about people who are allergic, this and that. What is the science and kind of the methodology behind creating a winning fragrance? You know, can you water it down for our viewers as to what really is entailed?
So, absolutely. So I think what's important today, a lot of people are allergic, as you said, with everything. Just looking at them, they're allergic, right? So people have, even if they're not, they think they are. So So it's important to come up with something that it's not offensive, something that is light and clean. That's what I did with my fragrances, and I did with the new ones coming out now too. It's clean, fresh, simple, just like Norway, the same thing. And keep it small, and be sure you don't put things in it that is offensive. And it's a rule now. There's a lot of stuff in fragrances that you're not allowed to have in it, you know. So you have to go through what you can do and you can't do. And of course, there are fragrances out in the market that is very strong. And, you know, you go into an elevator, you smell somebody, almost pass out, you know. It's just like, oh my God. So, but for me, I wanted to create fragrances that you get good energy from, that you feel like, you know, you're alive. And I have met people that have named their daughter after my perfume, because that's how they met their husband. I get all these stories from people. So I think to create a scent today has to be something on the lighter scent, you know, light, and know what you can put in it. Because a lot of times, especially a lot of the fragrances from Europe and also the United States, but they can be too strong and too hard. I just wanted something very simple and delicate and clean. I think that's where you get into now. I think more and more so. There are some fragrances lately that I smelled that was very harsh, and even from big celebrities, and it didn't do well because they're too strong. You know, they sell maybe one time because of the celebrity name, but the ones to stand, they're out, you know.
Well, it's interesting, because every time you talk about, and you get so passionate, every time you start to talk about the fragrance end of the business, there's so many other ends, it keeps coming back full circle to Norway. Yeah. And it's just an amazing thing. So where can people go to find out more about you, your fragrances, your background?
So I have a website, you know, geirness.com, GEIRNESS.com, so that people can read about my products. And also I have Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, the whole thing. So they can go and they can probably Google my name and they come up a lot of hopefully good things.
I know, and I've done that. So you're right. You're all over the place. So for sure. Yeah. Geir, really, Susan and I want to thank you so much for joining us today, sharing your incredible experiences, the hot off the press thing about the new fragrance you're working on. So thank you so much. And
thank you.
Thank you. And to the viewers, remember to reach out. Yeah, please. And remember to reach out to us on social media. Look for Great Success on Facebook and Twitter. We would love to hear from you. You can also find me, Mark Hoberman, on LinkedIn. Again, from our viewers, on behalf of Susan and myself, Geir Ness, thank you for being with us today. Susan, as always, thank you. Viewers, don't forget to tune into our next show. This is Mark Hoberman thanking you for watching Lighting the Educational Flame on the Great Success Education channel, and have a great day. Geir, many thanks.
Thank you so much, too. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to Lighting the Educational Flame with Mark Hoberman. To contact Mark, email him at info@gradesuccess.com.